So we're continuing on with the, putting together our own wedding. And what we've got here, this is the venue. And you see it's a really large backyard. This back here is where we're going to have the dance floor, do some party lights, but the dance floor is going to be in front of these. It's a batting cage is what that is, but we've utilized the back part of it. You can see some party lights back there. But in front of this, we need to create, I'm calling it the ceiling in the sky, because we need to hang some more party lights. We're going to do some lanterns, and it'll go over a dance floor that's going to be put down here on the grass. So how am I going to create the the ceiling in the sky? Basically, I'm going to utilize the poles that we already have. So this over here, I'm going to use some wired rope. Each of these wired ropes, they come in different sizes. This one here is rated for about 500 pounds. I don't need that much weight, but I'm just going to overcompensate for that. So I'm going to use this cable rope, and I'm going to go from this existing carport that's here. We've got a beam that's going up right here. I'm going to tie into the top of that beam and then all the way to the pole there. And then once I have that, I'll show you the next step. I'm going to go from one of the trees, the trunk of the trees, back to that other side where that other pole is. And then I'm going to create some cable rope across the grass, which will create this so-called ceiling in the sky. But what we're going to do is, so I don't damage any of the wood, I've got some of this hard plastic. It's just some PVC plastic. I'm going to cut, it's a 1/2 inch. I'm going to measure and cut, and then that will go through, and that will actually hit the wood instead of the cable digging into the wood. So I'll be able to get it nice and tight. But I'm going to attach it up here first, and then we'll show you how I attach it down at the other side. Okay, so I just cut this small piece of PVC, and like I said, this is going to go through, and it'll wrap around the pole like this. When I get it around the pole, then you got to have something to attach the cable to so it doesn't come undone. So how I'm going to do that is just pick these up at Home Depot, and they're a clamp. So you stick these over the cable like this. When you wrap it around, you stick it through again. This is not quite big enough, so hold on one second. So when you stick it around and you loop it, then you stick it back through this little clamp here, if I can do it. There we go, just like that. And then there's these nuts here you just tighten up. So once you get it tight, then it can't come through. So this will hold it on the one side. Now when I get to the other side, I'm going to do what's called a turnbuckle. So I'm going to wrap it around this turnbuckle, and then I'll go to the pole with that. So then once I get it as tight as I possibly can, this is going to tighten the tension on the cable. That'll make a lot more sense when we get to it at that point. But I'm going to use a turnbuckle on the other side. Okay, so this is how I had to attach the cable over on the other side of the yard. So I'm up actually inside the tree and wrapping the wire cable or the wire rope actually around the trunk of one of those big giant thuja trees. So it's kind of funny that the ladder's a little bit skittywampus, a little bit janky, but hey, it worked. It's amazing I didn't fall. But this is how I'm attaching that cable up into the tree. Then I was able to attach it to the corner there of the batting cage. So one thing that we did learn, yes, make sure you wear gloves because this wire rope will tear up your hand. So now I'm going to work on the turnbuckle that I was showing you. This is to tighten up the tension on that cable. So you can see you just twist the turnbuckle around in a circle, and it tightens the two screws that are part of the turnbuckle, and that'll tighten up the tension and make the cable a lot tighter. So now I'm just tightening it up a little bit more, and then I'm going to test the tension on the cable here in just a second. There we go. I'm going to test the tension just to see kind of how tight that's going to be. And I'm really yanking on it good because I wanted to see if it could support the weight of what we're putting on the line there. So now how I'm gonna cut the wire cable. I didn't know how to cut the wire cable because you can buy different tools to actually help you cut the cable, but I didn't want to buy any extra tools. I happen to have a Dremel tool on hand, and it has a metal blade on it, so you're able to just cut right through the metal with this Dremel tool. That was not my best cut. Alright, so once I changed the angle on it, you can see me, I figured out a better angle on how to cut it. So as I hold the cable a little bit more flat, you see how much faster it cut. Okay, so I'm working on the so-called ceiling in the sky. And so I'll show you kind of my idea of, and we talked a little bit about where I'm attaching. So this batting cage right here, you can see up there at the top of the pole there, I was able to go right to the very top, and I put a turnbuckle in, and let me turn the camera around and you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so I put that turnbuckle in, and so all I did was just kind of go around the pole and then use those clamps, clamped it nice and tight around the turnbuckle, and then did the same thing on that side. So then what you do with the turnbuckle is you just tighten it all the way up, and it gets rid of all the tension and all the slack that's in that line. So I went right from the edge of that carport right there, did the exact same thing on the other side. I actually put another turnbuckle over on that just because I want this as tight as I possibly can so that it will actually support the weight of what we're going to hang across. So that was the first part. Now I'm just in the process of doing the first cable that's going to go all the way across the yard. So that kind of goes over to, and I installed another cable over there. So you can kind of see where that attaches right there. Sorry, this is really bad, but there is where it attached. And so that's just coming straight across. So let me come out from over on this angle. Maybe you can see it a little better. It's kind of hard to see in that light. There, you can see it now. So I've got it straight across where the dance floor is going to go. So there's the first one. I'm going to put two more spaced about every 6 feet, and hopefully that'll cover the dance floor. And I put another turnbuckle, so every one of these cables has a turnbuckle so that I can tighten it all up. Okay, I know I showed this already, but I'm gonna actually cut the cable, and I just put some duct tape on it right there, and then I'm just gonna use this Dremel tool with a metal blade on it to cut the cable. All right, so we are continuing to put up the so-called ceiling in the sky. I've got a couple of these cables up, as you can see. This is how I'm attaching the ones that go across the yard. So you can see that little bracket there. I just did a little loop, and so it won't slide up and down this cable. If you just loop it around without that bracket, it'll just slide up and down the cable. But you can see how I've just kind of wrapped it around like that. Now I'm gonna just cinch it tight. That goes into the turnbuckle. And then I did the exact same thing down here, where that's a better view of how you just wrap it around the cables. And then I just use a ratchet tool and ratchet it super tight. Then it won't come undone. Then I'll do this exact same thing over on the other side. So it's just under 12 feet tall.
Okay.
So 12 feet high. That should give us a little bit of room, to hang those from.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm spacing these every 6 feet. So from the pole to the first one is 6 feet. Now I'm gonna go from here to the next one 6 feet, so it'll stay consistent through there. And we'll have one more 6 feet further that way. So it'll end up being about an 18 feet The dance floor will go completely underneath the whole thing, and it gives us plenty of room to work with. Like we have more than enough room. Okay, so we just got the last cable up. So I've got 3 of them. The dance floor is going to go right here. And the hope was to just have the lanterns hanging from these. The problem is we're spanning such a long width. This is probably close to 85 feet. And there's just too much sag in it. So to remedy this, I'm going to actually string a whole new cable, and I'm going to go from the middle and go from the middle of this pole all the way back. There's a tree that's perfectly placed right in line with the middle of this. So I'm getting lucky because there just happens to be a straight line. So I bought another cable, and I'm going to go straight through the middle. That will hopefully give us a little bit more strength in the middle of this span so that when we do hang the lanterns, they just won't sag clear to the ground. So that's the hope. Here we go, we're going to put up another cable. Okay, so after getting all of that infrastructure put into place, we just strung the lights. I'm not finished yet because in between each of these, you can see I've just got an extension cord running from one end to the other, but I don't have the right color. These are blue and they're really long, so I need to go get some smaller ones that I'll kind of take. So from right here, I'm gonna go out to the end, over and back to there, and then I'll hide the rest of the cords up there somehow, but that's the plan for that. Then here are the lanterns hanging from there. So this is kind of how it's starting to come together. So we have several hanging there. We'll have more hanging from each one of these over what will be a dance floor. So that's how that's starting to come together. Okay, so we are working on a dry run of these lanterns. We got the cables up, as you know. We've kind of experimented a little bit with some of the lanterns. What I'm worried about is just the support of the weight, if these cables are gonna actually support it. So here's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm just kind of spacing these out. And the idea was to have them at different heights, different lengths, just so they're kind of staggered. Problem I'm having is the cable I thought was high enough, it's just sagging just a little bit. So we're experimenting to see what's gonna look the best. So if I can maintain a 8-foot ceiling, I think I should be okay for a dance floor. But this is kind of what I'm doing to kind of space it out. That doesn't look very spaced evenly from that angle, but they're kind of spaced out, as you can see, like every so many lights. And I'll have the rest of these, you can see on the ground, I've got kind of laid out to just sort of match that as well. So how am I attaching it? It's really quite a rudimentary, but I just took some hemp rope and just kind of wrapped it around like that, and then just took some more smaller rope, wrapped it around like that. So we got it all put together. We got it up for our dry run, and I was really happy with how the weight was evenly distributed, and it looked really, really good on the cables. Plenty high for what we were hoping for the dance floor. So now we fast forward to, this is the dance floor the morning of the wedding. You can see the dance floor there, the fabric's up, and it looks really, really good. So this is what it looked like during the actual event, and thrilled with the way it lit up the yard. Everyone had a great time. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, please give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.